What would you do if you had money? And I don't mean a little money. What would you do if you had a few million? Hello, welcome to Money Magnet JB. I'm your host, T Brandy. So, we're going to talk about what would you do if you had money. And the idea is if you had a few $1,000,000 already in the bank. I've asked this question multiple times to a lot of my friends and associates, some of my family members. What would you do if you had a few million? And the first thing people always say is, I'll buy me a house, I'll buy me a car, I'll pay off my debt. I'll buy my mom a house, I'll buy my dad a house, or I'll help the needy, I'll do this. Very rarely do I hear people talk about investments. Do I hear people talk about, let me get a financial advisor? Rarely do I hear people talk about savings, stocks, bonds, CDs, things that would bring more money. The only thing I get from people is they want to spend money. And I'm not saying buying a house is a bad thing. Buying a house is a great investment, but then I meet a lot of people that buy houses that they really can't afford. And what happens is a lot of times these houses are foreclosed. And then, you're back at square one. Then the cars you have no value. So it's not an investment. And you've helped this person, you helped that person, and you have nothing to show for it. So a lot of times when people come into money, and this is a perfect example of a lot of people who win the lottery. And years later, they're broke. Years later, they have nothing to show for it. Their property has been foreclosed. Vehicles have been repossessed. They have a mound of debt because they've opened up credit cards and they've purchased a lot of things on credit, and their credit is completely shot. So when people get big sums of money, they're clueless as to what to do to maintain and to grow their money, because the first thing people want to do is buy. They want to spend. They want to flaunt, and I'm not saying not to enjoy money. That's what it's here for us to enjoy. Enjoy the fruit of your labor, enjoy your money. But you have to be wise when you're trying to build something, when you're trying to allow your money to stretch or multiply. And a lot of people don't think about multiplying their money once they have large sums of money at one time. And that's the downfall that we have as a society and as a community, because everybody want to buy the biggest and baddest car, the biggest, the baddest house, the nice jewelry, and they want to flaunt on their friends and family members. But you have to be wise when you come into large sums of money. And when I talk about investments and I talk about financial advisors, because a lot of times these are things that we don't want to spend money on, but these things could be very important to the longevity of your finances. People don't think about financial advisors, but that is something that would take you off, far. Not saying that everybody needs one. Some people are very financial literate and they don't need financial advisors, but some people have no clue what to do with money. So I would always, advise them, hey, get a financial advisor. Talk to somebody about how to manage your money and not throw away your money. A lot of people don't want money to multiply when they first get it. All they want to do is spend. I got to pay this, I got to pay that, I have to pay off this debt. And people are not smart when it comes to that. So investments is very important because it brings most investments, smart investments, brings a return on your money. And that's the last thing a lot of our peers, especially my peers, tend to do is invest. That's the last thing they want to invest, because they don't want to put money someplace that they don't see something right away. And if they can't see that red Corvette right away, they're not going to spend $100,000 on it. So same thing with an investment. They don't want to put away $100,000 in investment because then they're going to see the outcome of that investment right away. And that's where we fail as a people, because we want to spend and see it right away. We're not looking at the big picture. We're not looking at our future. We're not looking at what we can leave for our children, how we can teach our children to grow their money. Most people don't want an accountant because they think that, hey, I got it, and they're only looking at, the right now picture. So when a lot of times we start to lose this stuff, then we try to figure out where we went wrong. And so that's a very, very important thing that we need to learn in our community is how to manage our money, especially when we get large sums of money at one time. Because before we know it, we've spent so much that we have literally nothing to show for it. This episode is brought to you by Beholding Your Beauty Lash Studio. You can find them on IG at Beholding Your Beauty. How do we build our wealth? How do we multiply our wealth? What's the best way to save money? The best savings accounts, the best investments, options and things of that nature. And a lot of us don't know anything about it. And sometimes we're afraid to talk to people about it out of fear of feeling, incompetent and, not knowing. I talk to a lot of people that are twice my age that has never purchased a stock, doesn't know anything about stocks or options. They've never heard of it. It doesn't mean anything. It means that it just never came across them. I remember at one point in my life, I knew nothing about credit. Credit right now is very important to me. I have an 800 plus credit score. But I remember at one point I had a 500 credit score because I was never taught as a child. I was never taught as a teenager. We didn't learn that in high school. We didn't learn anything about credit. So therefore, when we became adults and we started to rent houses or try to buy houses or go and try to buy a car or whatever, that's when we learn about credit. Before then, we don't know anything about credit. A lot of aged people that have no clue how credit works, all they know is that, hey, you go somewhere, you want to purchase something. If they want to extend credit to you, they have to pull your credit. And people go to place after place after place and let people, let these companies and entities pull their credit. And they have no knowledge about credit and how to use credit effectively and learn as much about credit as possible. People are clueless when it comes to their credit. And we're living in a day and age right now where credit is more important than money, because most banks want to know that you are credit worthy. They don't care how much money you got. We have athletes out there that are raking in checks. They are bringing in the bags, but their credit is shot and the banks know it. So if you can't go and pay cash for what you want, you're not going to get it. But who wants to eat up their cash like that? And that's not very smart either. That's why I say a lot of people get large sums of money and have no clue what so the first thing they do is I'm going to go buy a house and I'm going to pay cash for it. I'm going to go buy this Range Rover, or I'm going to go buy this Maybach and I'm going to pay cash for it. Now you've eaten up all your cash. But had you had good credit, you wouldn't have had to do that. You'd been able to better manage your money. You could put something down if you want. I wouldn't advise anybody to put money down on a vehicle because they lose value so fast. But you have the credit to have the banks front that money for you. And you make a note on that. But the first thing most people do is, I'm going to pay cash, so I don't have a note. But then your credit is just, at what point are you going to start to build your credit or repair your credit so that banks and investors can see you as credit worthy? That's important in this day and age because it's not all about how much money you have at this point. Banks want to be able to pull your credit and see that you have good credit. And the same thing goes for your business. A lot of times when you're starting a new business, the most important thing is your credit as a person, your credit as an individual. Banks want to know that you're worthy. So people, first thing they're like, I'm going to get a business and And hey, I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna get a loan in my business name. But before you obtain that loan in your business name, the bank wants to pull your credit. So you can jump and start a business. That's great. I recommend that everybody start their own business. But don't go into a business thinking that, hey, I'm just going to put everything in my company's name. I'm going to get this loan in my company's name. It doesn't work that way, because with new companies, banks is not going to extend credit to a new company. That credit is going to be extended to you as an individual. And if you're not credit worthy, then your business is going to stall. And most people, if they can't obtain capital to start the business and fund their business, they typically let it fall by the wayside. So that's why we have people that start businesses and then it doesn't go anywhere, or it doesn't grow for years to come. And then 5 years later, your business is still where it was when you started it, because you have no capital, you can't get a loan, investors won't touch you, and so you just kind of play with it and make it a hobby. So a lot of people's dreams and goals turn into hobbies because they're not financially literate to start a business and follow through with it. I tell people all the time, if you get a large sum of money, and I've done this myself, the first thing you want to do, okay, a lot of people, what can I pay off? I want to pay this off. I want to pay this off. Or what can I buy? I suggest that if you had if you got an inheritance, won the lottery, got a settlement from the insurance company, or whatever, lawsuit, whatever, I'd advise anybody to put the money in the bank and let it sit for a year before you decide what you want to do with that money. Because if you touch it right away, in a year from then, the money is going to be gone. So your dreams and visions that you had, that what you were going to do, you would notice that you would have accomplished or done any of it. So I say all the time, hey, you got a lump sum of money somewhere, just kind of let it sit, put it in an interest-bearing account, and let it sit for a while. Don't spend it. Continue to do what you're doing. You're working. If you work a job, continue to work your job, pay your bills, maintain good credit. If you own your own business, continue to run your business, do what you do, maintain good credit, and kind of let that money sit and think about what you're going to do with the money. What's going to be the best decision that you're going to make with that money, because you may not ever get that amount again. Who knows? We don't know. But if you think about how you're going to multiply and grow that money, then that money has some longevity in it. You think about the big picture, what you could do if you did it this way. This episode is brought to you by JB Networking Systems, LLC. For all your business and financial needs, you can reach them on their website at jbnetworkingsystems.com or IG at JB Networking Systems. I tell people all the time, it takes money to make money, especially in business, but you want to be smart about it. And you don't just want to blow money because it's there and you think it is accessible to you, it's tangible, you can touch it. A lot of times I would tell people, put it in an account that you can't touch right now, and kind of forget about it. But in the back of your mind, make plans on what you want to do constructively with that money. And not immediately, oh, you know what, I can do this. Or the first problem arises, the first thing you want to do is go and grab that money. No, that's not what you want to do in that situation. I'm not saying in an emergency not to handle what you need to handle. But if it's not a dire emergency, we need to learn how to manage money, especially large sums of money. Because that's one thing I really hate to see, is that we get all this money and we waste it. We do nothing constructive. Real estate investment is a big market. Even now, real estate is a hot market. And I advise anybody who can get into real estate, definitely. That's a great thing to get into, because real estate is going to be here when all of us are dead and gone. We're still going to be real estate. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a great investment, but you have to be ready. You have to be prepared to get into investing in real estate. You have to, literally have your mind right. You have to have your credit right. And you definitely have to have your money somewhat right to, dive into that. But definitely, we need to think about the things that we would do if we had large sums of money. Don't wait to, one day you get this blessing, God forbid you hit the lottery, God forbid you get this big settlement, and in a year from now, you have literally nothing. I mean, I've gotten money, large sums of money that I went through. I mean, literally went through. But I took that as a learning experience. I mean, that happened when I was in my 20s. And I took it as a learning experience. And I realized how that money disappeared so fast. I played it back in my head like a movie and jotted down everything I spent the money on, going out to eat, clothes, cars, furniture, jewelry. I played it back like a movie. And I realized, man, I really messed up. I really blew that money. So I was like, okay, God, if I ever got money like that again, I'll do it different. And I continued to do it different because I played a game with myself for a year. I pretended I had no money. I literally pretended I had no money. So I'm like, how am I going to live with no money? So I played this little game with myself for a year and figured out how, manage, how I would live, with this game I was playing, and I saved money. And when I was able to do that, I was like, now I'm going to start a business and I'm going to buy only the things that I need to run my business. And I kind of went from there and grew my business and started other businesses. But I had to play, and sometimes you may have to play that game with yourself. I don't have it. I went a whole year without buying shoes, clothes, or anything. I pretended like I had no money. So I didn't shop. I didn't eat out. I only ate what was at the house. So sometimes you have to play those little games with yourself to kind of teach yourself and train yourself how to manage money and stop being so wasteful with money, especially if you want to grow your finances, especially if you want to grow your business. You have to train yourself. It takes discipline. If you want to be successful, you have a bunch of entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires out there. They're disciplined. The one thing they have in common, they are all disciplined. And they know how to be patient and they know how to wait. And if you're impatient and you don't know how to wait, you'll never grow. So those are some key points you have to keep in mind when you are trying to start a business, when you're trying to grow your wealth, even if you're on a 9-to-5, if you're working in corporate America. The same thing applies to you on your job, on your business. So we want to take that a little bit with you, ponder that, take out pen and paper and write down your goals, write down the mistakes that you made in the past, what you would do different. And then you expound on those things, you analyze those things so that you'll be able to grow your wealth. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning into Money Magnet JB. Click the link below to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll be looking for you guys on the next episode. Don't forget, feed your strength to fuel your power. Until next time, see you guys later.